Hello everyone and welcome to our channel. Today we're sharing a beautiful story about pride, humility, kindness, and friendship. It's called The Mirror of Pride, and it follows the journey of a young boy named Tare, who discovers that while pride can push people away, it's kindness and humility that bring love, peace, and true greatness. Long, long ago, before the world was filled with tall buildings and noisy roads, there was a peaceful place called Sunrise Valley. In this valley, the sun seemed to greet everyone kindly each morning. The river sang a gentle song as it flowed through the green fields, and people always greeted each other with a warm smile. Children ran barefoot, their laughter echoing through the air, and in the evenings, the elders would gather everyone around to share ancient stories. In Sunrise Valley, everyone helped everyone. It was a community built on care and togetherness. But even in the most peaceful places, lessons must be learned. And in Sunrise Valley, that lesson came through a gifted young boy named Tare. Tare was special, and everyone knew it. He could run faster than anyone his age. He spoke with great confidence, and he learned new things in the blink of an eye. When the elders spoke, Tare always had a clever answer ready. When the children played their games, Tare was always the one leading the way, his head held high. People in the valley would often say, "That boy, Tare, he will go far in life." But with all this praise, something else began to grow inside him, quietly at first, like a weed among beautiful flowers. That weed was pride. Slowly but surely, Tare started to change. He stopped saying thank you when someone helped him. He stopped saying please when he wanted something. When he did a good deed, he made sure everyone knew about it, announcing it loudly. But if someone helped him, he would simply ignore their kindness. "If I don't do it myself," he would often say with a shrug, "it won't be done well anyway." His friends started to notice the change. Around Tare, they began to feel smaller, less important. His pride was like a shadow that fell over them. One sunny afternoon, Tare's friend Lummy was flying a kite. A sudden gust of wind caught it, and the string tore. Lummy ran to Tare, holding the broken kite. "Tare, can you please help me fix it?" she asked, her eyes hopeful. Tare just laughed. "You should have been more careful," he said dismissively, turning his back on her. Lummy walked away quietly, her shoulders slumped. That night, Tare slept soundly, proud of his own cleverness. But Lummy cried herself to sleep. Pride, you see, does not see the tears of others. A few days later, the village teacher announced a special test for all the students. Tare smiled with pure confidence. He knew he was the smartest. During the test, he finished long before anyone else and whispered loudly, "I finished first." He leaned back, waiting for the praise he felt he deserved. But when the teacher announced the results, a shock went through him. Tare had not scored the highest. Another student had his chest tightened, and his face grew hot. Pride does not like disappointment. Upset and angry, Tare stormed out of the schoolhouse and walked towards the river, needing to be alone. As he reached the riverbank, he saw an old woman sitting peacefully under a large mango tree. She had kind eyes and a gentle smile. As he passed, she greeted him warmly. "You carry much weight for such small shoulders," she said softly. Tare frowned, annoyed by her words. "I carry greatness," he replied sharply. The woman's smile turned a little sad. She reached into her bag and pulled out a small silver mirror. It shimmered in the sunlight. "Look," she said, holding it up to him. When Tare looked into the mirror, he didn't see his own handsome face. Instead, he saw images flashing before him. He saw himself shouting at his friends. He saw them turning away from him, their faces sad. And then he saw a vision of his future, a tall, grand figure standing all alone on a hill with no one around him. "This isn't fair," Tare cried out, his voice trembling. The old woman looked at him with compassion. "Pride is a loud teacher, little one," she replied gently. And just as suddenly as she had appeared, she vanished, leaving Tare alone with the mirror and his thoughts. The very next day, things started to go wrong for Tare. During a running race, he slipped and fell. In class, he forgot answers to questions he knew by heart. He could hear the other children whispering, but to his surprise, no one laughed. Instead, L'Ami, the very friend he had been so unkind to, walked over and offered him a hand to help him up. That simple act of kindness felt heavier to Tare than any shame or embarrassment. Later that week, another boy named Ao lost his favorite book. Tare happened to see it lying under a bush. The old Tare, the proud Tare, might have hidden it or ignored it, but this was a new Tare. He picked up the book and returned it to Ao. The bright, genuine smile Ao gave him in return was a wonderful feeling. That smile stayed in Tare's heart for the rest of the day. That night, Tare had a strange dream. He dreamed he was climbing a very high hill. With every step up, he felt grander, but also more and more alone. The higher he climbed, the lonelier it became, until he stood at the very top with no one to share the view. He woke up with tears streaming down his face. The next morning, Tare knew what he had to do. He found his friends and, in a small, shaking voice, he said, "I'm sorry. It wasn't easy," and his voice trembled. Some of the children forgave him right away with a smile. Others needed a little more time. But Tare learned that humility is patient. It's willing to wait. A few days later, during the morning assembly, a little girl was asked to sing a song. Her voice was shaky and out of tune, and some of the other children started to giggle. The old Tare would have laughed the loudest, but the new Tare started to clap for her. At first, he was the only one, but then, slowly, others joined in. The little girl, encouraged by the applause, finished her song with a big, relieved smile. That smile healed something deep inside Tare's heart. From that day on, Tare learned to be different. He learned to listen more than he spoke. He learned to wait his turn. He learned the joy of sharing. Sometimes his old pride would try to knock on the door of his heart again, whispering that he was better than everyone else. But now Tare knew how to answer. Not today, he would say to himself. Soon it was time for the annual Sunrise Valley Festival. Everyone was busy preparing, each person contributing in their own way. Tare wasn't put in charge of anything important, and to his own surprise, he was happy just to be a part of it all. He noticed a shy boy trying to play a drum, but the sound was too soft. Tare walked over and gently encouraged him. With a little kindness, the boy's confidence grew, and the sound of the drum grew louder and stronger. At the festival competition, Tare didn't win any prizes. He didn't run the fastest or answer the hardest riddles. But when the winners were announced, he clapped the loudest for them. The elders of the village saw this, and they nodded to each other, a knowing smile on their faces. That night, after the festival, Tare took out the silver mirror the old woman had given him. He looked into it, and this time he didn't see a lonely future. He saw his own face, surrounded by the smiling faces of his friends. He saw peace in his own eyes and a gentle heart full of warmth. And as he smiled, the mirror slowly faded away, its job now complete. Years passed, and Tare grew up to become a wise and respected elder in Sunrise Valley. He never forgot the lessons he learned. He would often gather the children around him, just as the elders had done for him, and share his story. Pride makes you feel tall, he would tell them, but it leaves you standing all alone. Humility may feel small, but it surrounds you with love. What a wonderful lesson for all of us. If you enjoyed this story, please show your support by giving us a like, sharing it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more children's stories. We'll see you next time.